Good evening and welcome to Stage on Dallas. I'm your host, Dwight Sandell, and I have a very special guest with me tonight, Shirley McFatter, who's starring in Lady Day at Emerson's Bar and Grill, which is the debut show at the new West End Cabaret, which used to be the New Arts Theater. It's at Ross and Market. Welcome, Shirley, and thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm thrilled that you can be here. Shirley, before we start talking about the show, tell me a little bit about yourself, your background. I know that you've been at Theater 3. You were one of the first people I saw when I moved to Dallas in '79, and a memorable performance in Side by Side by Sondheim.
Oh, yes.
And that is one of my strongest first memories. What else have you done that people around town will know you from?
Well, first of all, I'm a Dallas native, and I went to Lincoln High School and played a lot of piano, did a lot of singing there, and before that, I was in school, and I think when you saw me, I had been out of Dallas. I came back to Dallas from Austin in 1971, and I did some club work around town, worked at Maxine Kent's, worked at the Sheraton, different hotels, just with trios and doing jazz. Then I worked, I had done some other musicals at Theater 3.
What else were you
Gershwin tribute to George Gershwin's wonderful. Porter Please, tribute to Cole Porter, tribute to Harry Warren.
You were also in For Color Girls.
Yes, that was the first production that was done in Dallas.
The Lady in Brown.
The Lady in Brown. And that was my first, quote-unquote, serious acting role where I had to...
Was your background in music or theater?
Music.
Music?
Yeah.
Were you a music major?
Yes, piano and voice. And, of course, being in the arts, you had to take theater, history, drama, history, but I never studied acting until I was at Theater 3, and I would say that Jack Alder and Larry O'Dwyer gave me my acting lessons.
Larry was on the show not too long ago.
Yeah.
So your acting is pretty much on-the-job training rather than a formal education.
Yeah, just like swimming. They just threw me in.
Well, you have obviously succeeded very well. I brought a couple of the reviews. Would it embarrass you if I read some of these wonderful things on the air?
Well, not really.
All right. Well, let me share some of these. This is for Lady Day at Emerson's Bar and Grill, in which you portrayed Billie Holiday. And talking about the script, Laney Robertson's script, it says, one must praise it for at least providing the premise, the framework for a magnificent performance. McFatter's triumph in this role is complete and devastating. You'll experience a heart-stopping revelation, a shock the instant McFatter opens her mouth to sing. In her timbre, in her phrasing, in her deceptive bedroom languor that cannot hide her deep reservoirs of energy and pain, McFatter has captured Holiday's art and soul. That was from one paper. Congratulations.
Oh, yeah,
the other one, I mean, these are the reviews. Every actor I know would just practically kill his best friend to get a review like this. It says, McFatter's acting has such a quality of sardonic strength that one actually wishes she'd talk more, even as one waits for the next song. There was just nothing but total praise from both papers, and the friends I went with who all have musical backgrounds were just totally enamored by your performance and said that you brought Emerson's out into the whole cabaret setting and made it feel like we were all at Emerson.
Yeah, that's the unique thing about this play, is that the way it's set, when you do it, the audience is a part of Emerson's. It is Emerson's audience, so therefore all of the audience members are your friends, you know.
And that's not, I don't think that's easy to do in that setting, particularly because it's a very clean, antiseptic setting. There are booths and the rails, and you're trying to portray Emerson's, which is what sort of a place? How would you describe the...
Let's say it's a little place that maybe wouldn't have a stage any more than maybe 6 inches or a foot, if maybe just a cleared space in the corner, right? You know, where the music was set up, and then the bar would be over there in the same place to the side. And you'd still have a jukebox, but you wouldn't have this elegant stage sitting up there. You wouldn't have booths. You might have, you know, wooden tables and chairs, and, you know, round tables and hardback chairs, and so that you could walk out into the audience maybe and talk with the people. And originally they had wanted to do this for the cabaret, but looking at long-term plans, you know, for having comedy acts and and other kinds of cabaret entertainment, they decided to do this. And one unique thing about the West End is, though, that the seating is very comfortable, and you have these intimate booths, so there is an intimacy about the place.
Right, I've been there twice. I sat in a booth once and on the rail the second time. And, yeah, the booths are nice, intimate.
Yeah, yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the show, and then I believe we're going to have a short little scene from it just to entice our viewership a little bit.
Okay.
But set up the show first so people know where this comes in her career, where she's at, where Billie Holiday is at.
Okay, this takes place in 1959, and this is 4 months before Billie Holiday's death in July of 1959. And she has just gotten out of a sanitarium, and she hasn't been doing well, but she's still trying to perform. You know, it's like that old adage, performers, they just keep going till they drop, and it's just in your blood, and you just want to keep doing it. And so she comes back to Emerson's, which is a place in South Philly, where a black club that she had worked back in the beginnings, the early part of her career. And
it was like when she was 15 or something.
And it was the first place that she got busted, as a matter of fact. And so she mentions during the play that every time she comes to Philly, you know, that the guys in the blue suits always come after her.
Blue suits and the white socks.
White socks, yeah. The white
I was careful not to wear white socks tonight.
The director always made sure he wore white socks during directing, so that I would get that, during rehearsal. So she's, you know, she's just talking, and of course, by this time, she's had this career that has had its ups and downs. These people who are there to see her, are small in number, they are her friends. And so she's sort of reminiscing, like how one does, you know, when you get that age and you've been through all of these things, and you reminisce, you start reminiscing, and especially when you're, at this time, she could not perform in New York because she'd just gotten out of prison and been through the sanitarium and all of that, and her cabaret card had been taken away. So she could sneak off to Philadelphia and do these little cabaret club type things. And
gradually through the course of the show, through the monologues, I don't think she intends to, but gradually she reveals her entire life, and it's a wonderful mix of how her life has manifested itself in her art.
Yes.
And you do that superbly.
Oh.
Could we share a little bit of that with our audience?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
All right.
This is going to be a short scene from Lady Day at Emerson's Bar and Grill, starring Shirley McFatter.
When I was a stupid-ass kid in Baltimore, I scrubbed the steps to this local fancy house run by a big-ass woman named Alice Dean. And she used to wear these humongous red velvet hats with bird of paradise feathers on them. And I wanted to buy one of those hats for the Duchess. That was my mom. But I didn't know that those hats was a walking advertisement for bitches who were selling it. Mom didn't know that either. She wasn't a hell of a lot older than me, and not a hell of a lot smarter neither. She never did get to be more about 5 feet tall and weighed 80 pounds, while I was over 200 pounds by the time I was 12. So we was pals like I was her sister, see. So at Alice Dean's parlor and entertainment establishment, I got to play all these records till I practically wore them all out. Also that wind-up Victrola, which was all they had anywhere in those days. That was about 1922, 23 or so. But at Alice Dean's house, all the girls there was half-colored, because whorehouses, or sporting houses as they were called, were the only places where white and colored could meet. And sure weren't allowed to meet in no church. So anyway, at Alice Dean's house, all these bitches had all these Louis Armstrong records and Bessie Smith records, and I was just gassing my fat ass out listening to them, especially listening to Pops. That's what we called Louis Armstrong, was Pops. And he'd have this song called West Side Blues, where he'd go, "Up-be-daw, up-be-dee, up-be-daw, up-be-dee-oh." And I'd wonder why he never sang any words. But he'd have the most beautiful feeling. and I wanted that feeling. I also wanted Bessie Smith's big sound, but I didn't have a big voice like that. So between the two of them, I sort of got Billie Holiday. I'd say that Pops Armstrong and Bessie Smith on the old Victrola, that was sort of Mom and Pop to me.
Thank you, Shirley. That was a scene from Lady Day at Emerson's Bar and Grill, which is at the new West End Cabaret on Ross and Market. And lest I forget, I'm going to give you right now the telephone number and dates and times. It is playing Monday through Thursdays at 8 p.m., 2 shows Friday, 8 and 11, 2 shows Saturday, 7 and 10. And the exact address is 702 Ross. And the phone number for reservations information, if you want to review those times, it's 742-4800. And this is going to play through July 18th, is that correct?
Yes.
That's quite a schedule.
Yeah.
How many shows per week does that work out to be? 8 or 8?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a little exhausting or not?
Not really, because I'm playing a jazz singer, and that's what I do, and I could just do that all day long.
And then you have a club background, too, where you're used to, where you're accustomed to, like, 3-4 hour nights, aren't you? So this seems probably relatively short to you, doesn't it?
Yeah, you know, rehearsal was the most demanding.
How long did you rehearse this?
We rehearsed for 2 weeks, and which is really a short rehearsal.
That is very short for a one-woman show.
Yeah, and I did have the script a week before I started rehearsing just alone with John Briggs, and then the band came in and rehearsed a week. So that was 2 weeks, and then we had the full dress on the Monday before the first preview, which was a Tuesday, the 23rd. And so we just, just zipped right on through it. But I didn't really have to spend a lot of time getting into character here.
I was going to ask you, in terms of reproducing Billie Holiday, who has this background growing up around a brothel and being a junkie, is that a good term to use? I don't want to use that term slightingly at all.
Yeah.
And just with the problems that she went through, what do you find in your own life to relate to all of that? What can you carry that way? Or do you not work from within? Did you research Billie and then work a different way?
I'd say it's a mixture of the two. In studying jazz when I was in college, I met some really fine musicians from Southern University and Baton Rouge. And they told me to always study my history. And at the time, I was just getting up there singing jazz, and singing songs that I'd heard. And I went back and I studied history. And of course, there's a lot to study about Bessie Smith and Billie Holiday in particular, and Sarah Vaughan, Ella Fitzgerald, and how they all began.
All the greats.
Yeah, and how they began, all their histories. And so I studied that. And just as a jazz singer, I found that the more I studied about my history, the better singer I became. And, if you know what's gone before you, then you can take some of that, Carmen McRae, all of that. And I found out that she had played the piano quite a few years, doing singles, just like I do in Dallas, So all these things added up. Friends of mine had given me paintings and pictures of Billie Holiday because they just said, one time Larry O'Dwyer mentioned that there was something about an aura, or I had a similar spirit to Billie Holiday. So as a jazz singer, of course, you never want to copy. You're always searching for your own identity. But in the jazz life, in the jazz world, you're going to run across people from other eras, not so much now, because now everyone's into jogging and health foods and very disciplined, and all of that. But people who are still left from that era, a lot of them died. A lot of them are alcoholics. A lot of them, their lives are just totally wasted.
Why do you think that happened? There's this fascination with people who have this, I think in one of the reviews mentioned it, this self-destructive quality, such as Billie Holiday had. What brings that on?
I don't know. I think that, well, that's always happened. Tchaikovsky, it happened to Tchaikovsky, it happened to Beethoven, Edgar Allan Poe.
Mozart?
Yes, all of the, Mozart. For instance, in Amadeus, where, you know, toward the end, his wife said that he was taking these strange capsules and drinking to the wee hours of the night to try to finish this work.
Do you ever fear something like that happening in your own life?
No, I don't fear it. No, I don't fear it at all because my life is here to be lived. I don't feel I'm particularly self-destructive. I would say that maybe the main thing that I might be overly cautious about at this point is becoming so much involved in my art that I can't identify with the outside world and forget that that's where my motivation comes from.
Well, that's why I asked you about your ability to connect with Billie Holiday, and if
it's
that's a problem.
No, because, you know, if you've ever worked in a jazz club starting out, that means that at some point in your career, you will have been exposed to people who use hard drugs.
To the pain.
Yeah, to the pain of the rejection of your music, to people looking down upon you, like, for instance, I say people who don't go to nightclubs, people I grew up around in Dallas who are church people and say, oh, she's a jazz singer? Because, you know, I mean...
And immediately equate it.
Yeah.
If you're a jazz singer, you must live that life.
Yes. And, you know, basically, there is a life, but there are all different levels of that life. But you can't sing jazz without having been around... you're going to run across at least a couple of prostitutes somewhere along the line.
Sure.
They might be high-class, top-dollar call girls or what have you. And I'm talking about, like, on Preston Road in Dallas or anywhere, you know. So therefore, that's just a part of the life.
Has your perspective of Billie Holiday changed at all as you've gotten more and more into the production?
Yeah, I would say that going into the production, I felt more apart from Billie Holiday. You know, it's like I was looking at her and said, oh my God, that's, you know, that's tragic. And then getting in, not that, I did identify with her as a jazz singer, but I would say that now even more after having done this production, I see her as a jazz singer, and that her problems with drugs and alcoholism and all of that, because she actually died of cirrhosis of the liver, not of an overdose of hard drugs, and she smoked 4 packs of cigarettes a day and all of that. I began to look at her as a person who had a lot of personal problems that led her into that. It wasn't singing jazz that led her into the drugs and the lifestyle. I mean, she was around that, but Lena Horne was around the same crowd, you know, and it didn't really happen. It happened to Billie Holiday because she was not able to deal with her personal problems, with problems with her mother, problems with the men in her life.
One of your lines that I remember that just struck me as so wonderful was when Billie starts talking about what she wants out of life, which very simple wants that I think we can all relate to, no matter where we're at in our lives. She wants a house, as I recall, a cook, and a club of her own. What else was in there? Was it just those 3?
Yeah, she wanted a beautiful home, some kids, and her own little small, cozy club like Emerson.
Is that something that you can relate to, saying, that's what I want?
Yeah.
What else do you want? I mean, what do you live for?
I live just to do music. I find that if I'm growing musically, that I feel really good about that. Beautiful home, I think I'd rather be a gypsy.
Is that right? That's sort of how I'm at, too.
Yeah.
I live for what I do rather than what I have.
Yeah. You know, I love kids. Like Billie Holiday, I've never had any. I love kids, though. But I'd like a club, you know, small club, and I think that's one of the pleasures is being able to sing for your friends And in my personal life, all my friends are artists, and I feel that there's nothing that could be any better than having the acceptance of your peers. And
what do you hope to accomplish with this piece?
I hope to grow as a jazz singer. Hopefully, we'll get to do it a long time. I'd like to possibly, if it comes through, tour and do this some other places, because I feel that this particular cast brings something to this particular play that hasn't been there before, namely a jazz singer playing the role and also jazz musicians playing the music, that's a little different interpretation. In New York, I didn't see the production, but none of the actresses were jazz singers. They were not committed to jazz.
Right.
Yeah, they were very fine actresses, but I think this is the first time, I understand, that a jazz singer has done the role, and also the first time that a jazz pianist, Claude Johnson, did all the arranging, and this is the first time.
He took some of that right off the records, is that correct?
Yeah, but we couldn't use, we had to bring it up to date. We had to bring it to 1959, which means that a lot of the arrangements and the harmonies are a little bit different, and the feels and some of the tempos, because Billie Holiday, just like any singer, had been doing all those songs, God Bless the Child, and all of that for years.
Right.
But I'm sure as time changed and tastes changed, she changed. Yeah, she changed. And I have some later recordings of her doing some of the same songs, and it doesn't sound the same at all, because she changed.
Is there any part of the show particularly that you look forward to every night, and as you get closer and closer, here's the shining moment I've been waiting for?
Well, that's really difficult to say, because I really enjoy the whole show. For instance, to me, I love the opening song, I Wonder Where Our Love Is Gone. I love the monologue in the middle about being with Artie Shaw.
Oh, yeah.
I love Artie Shaw to begin with, and so that was like a real funny thing. And then I really like the section where she sings Don't Explain, because I like that song, and it seems to be very easy to get into the essence of her and her sound with that song. And I love the closing song. See, there were songs in the show that we had to learn that I probably wouldn't have even paid that much attention to, because Good Morning Heartache is not in this show.
I was surprised by that, since that is, of course, so immediately recognizable as the Billie Holiday trademark almost.
Yeah. But like God Bless the Child, Strange Fruit.
I was real glad Strange Fruit was in it.
Now
you
see,
did
now
a
that's something.
magnificent job with it.
Thank you. Now that's a song you don't hear that often, but everybody likes it. I like that song. It's very dramatic, so that's something you can really get into as an actress. But as a singer, I also like deep songs. Where Can I Be Headed For?
It's wonderful how Laney has written the script and selected the music. I assume he selected the music himself. In order to lead one right into the other.
Oh,
that must be a real pleasure for you to work with someone like that.
It fits like a glove, and it was very magical. In fact, Laney said that he had a dream, and that he dreamed about Billie Holiday one night, and that's how this play came to him. And I can understand that, because that's really how it feels. It just feels like a jazz singer told him exactly what to write and what to say and what to sing, what to put in there.
Do you plan to stay in Dallas?
Yeah.
If you
But
can
I am
ideally
a
have a
gypsy.
club, have it here?
Oh, yeah, I'd love to have that.
That'd be wonderful.
Yeah, the Southwest is really growing for jazz, and I think this is, all the jazz musicians in New York are trying to come here. They want to perform at the Caravan of Dreams, and hopefully they'll get a chance. Well, the Arts District is having a lot of musicians in it, so.
I'm already getting a wrap-up signal. I told you this goes so fast.
Yes,
I'm going to repeat the dates one more time. It's Lady Day at Emerson's Bar and Grill, and it's playing through July 18th, Mondays through Saturdays, and also on Sundays.
Sunday.
Oh, I'm sorry, Monday through Saturday.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, no Sunday. Monday through Saturday. The address is 702 Ross. The phone number is 742-4800. It is an absolutely, well, I'll use the term from the paper, devastating show. and at the same time devastating, wonderfully entertaining.
Thank you.
Thanks to you and your magnificent performance.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley, for joining me on the show,
Thank
and I
you
wish
so
you
much.
much luck with the rest of the run, and I know you'll have it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good night, and see you next week.